everyone. Welcome back to Sports Central. I'm Mark Jackson. If you're just joining us, to my right, my co-host, Mr. Hank Longo. And we talked to you about aviation at the beginning of the show. Well, here's a sport. They're pretty much flying all the time, but not in the air.
But not in the air. And before we get into that, we have to thank our sponsor, the Florida Department of Citrus, for sponsoring segment 2 here on Sports Central.
Boy, those oranges are grapefruit are flying off the trees right now. Yeah, everywhere you go, they're just
that time of the year.
It's amazing. People come down and sports teams or people down here for leisure, checking out stuff. Just fascinated with how those oranges are picked. And you ever watch those guys? Every once in a while, I'll just stop my vehicle and just watch them for a while.
Just climb up there, and you go from, when you look at the whole industry, how it goes from just picking that orange, and then if you go over to Florida's Natural in Lake Wales and see that huge processing plant and all that goes on after that orange is just plucked off the tree, it's pretty fascinating.
Hey, check it out at the visitor center right there at
across the street.
Florida's Natural. Absolutely. All right, some good stuff, buddy.
Some boat racing going on.
Oh my gosh, we've had an awesome time this month of March, and it's continuing into the month of April here in Central Florida's Polk County. It's something that we're certainly very proud of, but we'd like the revenue coming in. That's the big deal. Well, two gentlemen that are no strangers to this show, and certainly no strangers to boat racing. R.C. Hawie, and we have Gary Levin. And gentlemen, it's great to have you back because you also bring two very special events that are coming up here in just a couple of weeks. Tell us about it.
Well, the April 13th and 14th, we have the pros coming in, the U.S. Title Series at Lake Cannon.
Okay.
Which is 2400 Havendale Boulevard, and that's going to be behind the Boys and Girls Club, and it's a benefit to Boys and Girls Club. And then the very following weekend is the second race, which will be at Lions Park in Lake Alfred, and that also to benefit children.
Okay.
Now, RC, you've been racing boats since like 1970, am I right? Been in
my 43rd year.
Oh my gosh!
Holy smokes!
And how does the series go on? You're having two races, one weekend after another weekend. How does that fit into the whole big picture of your summer?
Well, the U.S. Title Series runs around the country, and most of the drivers are up north in the Midwest. So to get them down here, it's easier to keep them down one more weekend because your expense is getting here. Your expense to stay for a week isn't as bad. And to help Polk County out, we're putting heads in beds.
That's what we like. That's what we like.
That's what sports marketing likes to hear.
That's right, they do. Well, one of the things that's so interesting, at least fascinating to me, are the number of different classes that you have. It's fascinating in one breath, but it can also be a little confusing to the average person that's going to come out and watch the races. Can you guys talk a little bit about some of the different classes and what we can look to them for?
We divide it between a hydroplane and a runabout. They're two different distinct boats. They don't race against each other.
What is the difference?
Runabout has one point.
Okay.
Runabout is a distant cousin of a pleasure boat.
Okay.
Monohull, if you will. It has a flat bottom. The hydroplane has a tunnel down the middle, has sponsons off to the side. It's reminiscent of the Unlimited, so everybody knows Miss Budweiser. It's a smaller version. Okay. We further break it down by displacement of the motors. So we go from 125 cc's to 1100 cc's. That's roughly 7.5 cubic inches to 67 cubic inches. Wow. And then there's a special K-Pro class for the kids, 11 to 17. And it's based on an Evinrude & Johnson 15A model motor, race motor.
Okay.
And they run on a small hydroplane. It's only about 9 foot long. And they do about 50 to 55 miles an hour themselves.
Are those a flat bottom hydroplanes? Or
they're not like the tunnel boats.
Okay. Because those were real popular even when I was a kid. I remember you remember seeing it up in Michigan and in Minnesota and Wisconsin. They seemed to be used to be real popular up there. So as far as racing goes, Gary, what's the you're talking a little bit about people that are coming from different parts of the country, spending a couple of weeks down here, of course, in the wonderful warm sun, and what states? Where are these people coming from?
Especially after all the snow up in the New England and Northeast. We've got them coming from Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio, and Washington, the state of Washington.
Oh my
Holy
God!
moly, that's a long ways to go.
And they came to Florida last year. It was their first trip to Florida at Lake Cannon. They said, we're looking forward to next year. And I know we've got pretty near 90 entries so far.
And as we're watching one of the boats on the monitor right now, how fast does the fastest boat go?
Well, we're going to have an interesting class this year as an experiment. It'll be 700 Runabout, and that should be the fastest class out there. They out-accelerate the 500 Runabouts, have a couple more miles an hour on top end. And if you take your stopwatch and do the elapsed time, you'll see which is the fastest class. And we're talking in the high 90s down the straightaway.
90 miles an hour.
High 90s.
And this is an oval course?
Oval course.
Okay, so it's, okay.
In fact, Lake Alfred will be a 3/4 mile measured record course. So we will be running for records at Lake Alfred.
Great.
You're sort of an engineer type of a guy. You know how all this stuff works, the internal combustion engine and so on. Every year it seems that records are broken. And why? Is it the prop? Is it gearing? Is it, they're changing carburation? What's the secret to breaking these records?
There's a lot to break in a record, and it's not easy. You have to have perfect water conditions, perfect air conditions, and then everything else on the boat has to be perfect.
Air conditions?
Well, yeah, because the carburation changes to the air pressure and the air temperature. And
which is better, colder or warmer?
Colder.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's
denser air.
denser
Air.
denser.
More air you put in, more power you make.
Oh.
And you have to readjust your jets as you go along as the air changes during the day. You might
really?
test in the morning
and then it
have to
warms up
completely
in the
change your
afternoon.
jets in the afternoon.
Wow. And
It's amazing.
with the water, do you like it to have a little bit of a ripple so the boat isn't
You've
you
got
know,
to
it's got a
have
little air,
chop.
or
You
you
have
gotta
to have
have
some
some
chop.
chop so
If it's
that
perfectly
it
flat,
kind of sticks to the
the
water?
hydros build up so much air pressure under the boat they'll actually blow over backwards.
Really?
And the runabouts will stick to the water. They won't go fast.
Okay.
Huh.
So both boats, even though they're uniquely different
Okay.
in design, they both need some chop.
Put us in the driver's seat for a second. And you plop down in there. How do you steer them? How do you adjust the, I went like this, of course, I'm so used to driving an inboard. But, how is the speed adjusted? Is it a hand throttle? Is it a foot feed? Tell us about that.
Well, we have three distinct sitting positions, and there's only one sitting position. The capsule boats sit in a reinforced cockpit. They have a foot throttle. Mm-hmm. They also have a pedal to move their expansion chamber in and out, which helps changes the speed of the motor.
Okay.
And they have a steering wheel, fixed trim, unlike the tunnel boats. Most of the hydros are lay downs. Some are kneel downs. All the runabouts are kneel down.
Okay.
Lay down and kneel down is the same way. You have a throttle in your left hand and you have a pipe puller. Some of the lay down hydros actually have a foot pedal back there to move the expansion chambers in and out.
Uh-huh.
And you hold on the steering wheel with your right hand. And that's how you drive a
And
race
you're laying
boat.
down in it.
Laying down on the hydros and kneeling down in the runabouts.
So if you're laying down, you got to be looking up. Isn't that a little?
They've got a
uncomfortable?
little wedge under their stomach on
Okay.
the bottom of the boat to hold them up so that they're looking forward.
Wow.
And the safety part of it, they're all wearing helmets.
Helmets, life jackets are specially made for racing, and cut-resistant sleeves and pants. Most is made out of Kevlar. There's some other special materials that are cut-resistant because the propellers are stainless steel and they're very sharp.
Wow. Break
So-
a bone, but they won't cut through you.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
They've proven themselves since we started using them in the 90s.
Wow.
That's the safety thing. How about in the capsules? Do they have oxygen tanks inside?
Yeah, they have a breathing system, so if they flip, they already have a mask on. They usually wear open face helmets, and they have a different kind of life jacket because they don't need a lot of buoyancy. They need to be able to get out
Okay.
The capsule, if it's upside down, they have a 6-point or 7-point harness system, just like in the race cars.
Okay.
They're basically sitting in a custom-made seat around them, just like the race car guys do.
Huh. It's amazing.
That's fascinating.
Gary, what about the, we talk about water skiing being a family sport, being a lifetime sport. What are the ages in boat racing?
Basically 14 and up. We've got some families that are in their 4th generation.
Really?
There'll be four generations in Lake Alfred and 4 generations at Lake
And they're still
Cannon.
racing?
Yes.
Wow.
They're waiting for the 5th to grow up.
Wow. I'm sorry, Hank, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's while we've got a few moments left here, let's talk about the Boys and Girls Club and how you raise money and how you're benefiting that organization, because that's so important here.
Well, it's the East Polk County Boys and Girls Club of, and they have 3 locations: Haines City, Lake Wales, and of course Havendale Boulevard in Winter Haven.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're charging for parking, which is $5 for parking. The entry fee is for spectators is $5 for the spectators, and we're going to have a host of vendors, including the Boys and Girls Club, are going to do their own vending also. So that's where the money's going to come from.
And a great opportunity.
Both you guys from Winter Haven? Lakeland? Bartow?
Indian Lake Estates.
Indian Lake Estates.
Wow.
That's almost in another county.
Just about. Well, Polk County's a big county.
Yeah. I live in Lake Hamilton.
Oh, you live in Lake Hamilton. Okay.
So do you practice out on Lake Hamilton?
No.
You don't?
It's usually too rough.
It does get windy out there.
It's a big lake.
Yeah, that's other than there's Little Lake Hamilton though too. So you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Huh. Faye Downing lives on Little Lake Hamilton. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, she does. Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Once again, it's April 13th and 14th at Lake Cannon at the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
The next weekend, April 20th and 21st at Lions Park in Lake Alfred. So make sure you check that out. Great family event. They do have drinks. They do have food. So
Check our website out.
And you can check out the website, which is?
raceforthekidsfoundation.org or todayandtonightmagazine.com.
Fantastic. Well, both great organizations that do a lot for Polk County.